This variation on the classic Bully Bluegill Spider is a creation of my good friend A.J. Rosenbohm in New Orleans. And it differs in two ways from the classic Bully Bluegill. One is unweighted, so it fishes very well in shallow water. And secondly, he adds this resin-covered red head, which creates a great hot spot in the front. And we're going to tie this fly in chartreuse today. And the hook I'm going to use is a 3x long heavy curved nymph hook. Now pretty much any 3x long hook will work fine for this fly. And the thread I'm using is UTC 140 denier, and I want that thicker thread, even though this is a size 14 hook, to help build that thread head a little bit later on. And so I start my thread toward the rear of the fly and trim off my tag, and I want to wrap down to about the barb, so down into that bend a bit, and then bring the thread back up to near the point. Now the body of the fly is made from standard ultra chenille, and I've already used the edge of my scissors to trim off or to pull off the material here, exposing the core. And so I take a couple of loose wraps and wrap back to the rear of that thread base, and then I bring my thread forward to a point at least 2 hook eye lengths back. We don't want to crowd this area because we're going to tie in legs and make our head there. So we begin wrapping our chenille. Take a couple of wraps over the chenille, and then snug those down, and a couple of wraps in front, and then trim off that tag end of our chenille. And take a couple more wraps there. Now for legs, I'm using chartreuse colored nymph size. These are the small nymph size Silli Legs and barred chartreuse. And I take one strand and I fold that strand over roughly in half. It's not critical because we won't use near all of this. And I cut them in half. And then I wrap both legs around my thread and bring it up and tie that with a few wraps loosely right on top of my hook. And then while the thread is still loose, position those legs roughly even around the fly. It's not critical. And if they twist on you, just twist them back. And then we just take thread wraps to build that thread head. And I like to build it up to a little bulb in the center, just to give it a little taper from front to back and back to front. And then once I've built it up, grab my whip finish tool and do a 4 or 5 turn whip finish here. Again, putting that whip finish near the center of that head, and trim that off. And then we get our UV resin, and while holding those legs back, I like to get a little bit of that resin back in the legs to kind of help hold them to the rear. So I'll rotate this around and get a nice coating all the way around that head, and just kind of spin it a few times just to evenly distribute it. And then while holding those legs back, hit it with my UV light. A few seconds to cure there. And the last step is to trim our legs. So we hold them, and we want to trim them back just past the bend of the hook, so about there. And there we have it. It's a very quick and easy fly to tie.